everybody, Brooklyn Attic Books here. So last month, August, I actually didn't get too much reading done. The reason being is I'm never really in the right headspace in the month of August. Both my parents passed away in August. So I know that mentally I'm just going to have a bunch of blockages. So I tend to kind of stay away from things during the month of August. However, I am a part of a few book clubs and I did stick to the schedule. I actually only read one book that was not part of any of the book clubs that I'm a part of. So this past month, I was able to read my 4 books, which is my reading goal for the year, which I've actually now surpassed. As everyone knows, Fever House is a book that I raved about in July. So to start off the month, I ended up receiving the arc of the next book before it comes out, The Devil by Name. If you're into the nice, thick, post-apocalyptic epic journey type of storybooks, then this duology is for you. Keith Rosson hits it out of the park. It's amazing. It's everything that I would have wanted out of Swan Song and The Stand, given that both lack zombies, but these do not. The Devil by Name comes out September 10th. I think that everybody needs to read it. Fever House, if you haven't picked it up yet, it's amazing. On August 15th, I had the pleasure of attending the book club discussion for The Wicked Words Coven book club meetup. I don't know what to call it. It's amazing. I had such a great time. I made a new friend, and that to me is very is worth more than anything else. So the book that we discussed was The Alienist by Caleb Carr. Now this was a 600-page book, and I like I said, I was kind of going through like a mental block during the month of August. So I got to about page 300 and then skip forward to page 500 to finish the last 100 pages of the book so I can finish the book in time for the discussion. So I did skip actually kind of like juicy parts of the book. So I don't recommend anybody do that. I actually did not put this book on my Goodreads like that I've read it because I skipped 200 pages in it. It's a very thick book, and it's not an old book, but it does come off kind of like oldish, but it's written in 1994, but it is about like turn of the century detective work. It's really cool. I highly recommend it if you're into that. It is fiction, but it's absolutely cool. For my nonfiction book club, we were assigned The Uninhabitable Earth by David Wallace-Wells, and it was a fairly grim book. Given the aspect of things. I think it was from 2019. I wish we were assigned something a little bit closer to 2024, just because the environmental issues that were presented in it, already the data having been 5 years old is kind of outdated at this point. So I just thought it was kind of weird. The author himself is very much a part of the modern world. He doesn't necessarily take blame for it, and he does spread the blame all throughout population, which I don't think is right, given that not everybody has the same powers in society, if you catch my drift, right? Meaning if you have more money, you could probably pay to make things go away for yourself, or right? So, and I think a lot of big companies use their money and power to adjust things to promote their business and their sales at the end of the day, and that's what it really comes down to. It's kind of messed up when you look at it that way. He never talks about that. He never talks about how government makes policies, certain policies, how we're not really hitting our marks, right? We're not hitting our environmental goals we had set for ourselves. There was a lot of interesting things in the book, and at the end of it, he didn't really come to any like, hey, here's some things you can maybe look forward to or pass on. There was no positivity in the book at all. So I know there's a lot of eco warriors out there also, and I feel like those type of stories are needed, because you can't just present how grim things are in the world. You have to present that, yes, there are eco warriors out there. We should all be striving to make better choices as consumers, better choices as people in our everyday life, down to our very diets, right? So there's a lot to consider there. I love this nonfiction book club. It always presents things that I forget that that I'm a part of a bigger community, right? That's planet Earth, and that we should all be more mindful of things. And I love that this book club does that for me. The final book that took me about 2 weeks to read, and there's a reason for it, actually. So the final book that I read in the month of August is for my book club, which is The Beginner's Guide to Classic Sci-Fi. And our first pick is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. So I love this book the first time I read it. It's actually documented on my Goodreads when I read it, which was August of 2016, which is hilarious because I read it in August of 2024, 8 years later. So this time around, I felt like, even though I know the story and I know that it's going to be good because I loved it the first time, I think because this time I'm hosting a book club, I felt the need to write more notes and really like reread things to better understand certain passages. And while I kind of felt, and it did drive me to dive deeper into the book, it almost felt like homework to me. And I did not enjoy that aspect of it as much as I thought I was going to, with the aspect of diving deeper into the book. So I don't know. I'm very on the fence about how I should be hosting these book clubs. And I'm sure, I think everybody feels that way in the beginning when they first start out hosting a book club. So our first meeting is actually going to be this Monday on the 9th at 8 p.m. on our Discord discussion chat. So if anybody's interested, please reach out. Of course, everyone's welcome. And that was my final read of the month. And that's it, guys. 4 reads this month, four inputs. They weren't exactly small books either, so you can give me that too. But, so check it out. This is how much of a mental blockage I had in the month of August. It's September 5th today, and I'm about to finish my 4th book already. So there you go, right? I hope you have a wonderful weekend and keep on reading.